My name is Rebecca Catan, this is MakingLARP, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Student Nationals 2015. The Student Nationals are a yearly role-playing, wargaming, board gaming and LARP tournament held mostly with university teams in different universities over the Easter break here in the UK. Most of the teams are based around the gaming societies of the universities that come. I was actually part of the mercenary team. This is a team mostly of my friends from the northeast that go and GM events basically, and a couple of us actually participate in the events, but mostly our team comes and GMs. The way the Nationals is set up is there will be a bunch of different categories for games, and you fill in your form if you're going to be playing, saying which categories you're interested in taking part in. You give a top three, and whichever one you're assigned to, you play multiple games in that category over the course of the weekend. I believe it's 2. If you're doing role play, like just normal role play, LARP we did 3. In board games I'd imagine you do more than that. In wargaming and the card game tournaments you would run a normal tournament style. So the winner of that category will be based on who actually won the tournament. In the other categories, the GMs at the end of each day or each session get together and say, these are the people who are best in my game, these are people in my game, and the next day the players for those 2 GMs will switch, and so they kind of come up between them with an overall who was the best players of the weekend. And the points of the competition are based on 1st, 2nd and 3rd in each category. This year it was held at De Montfort University in Leicester. As I mentioned, I took part in the LARP event. I took part as a player rather than as anyone running or as part of the crew team. One of the other events running was a overall category. Its name changes each year depending on who is running it and kind of the theme of the university, but it's basically a category where you do a role-playing game, a LARP and a board game. In the case of the LARP, those that were on the overall team went and joined the LARP crew rather than the players. So let's talk about the games. Before the event we were given notice of the rough outline of which games we were playing. Obviously we weren't told anything about the story of each game, but we were told the basic mechanics of the rules. Obviously for the second day, which was a costumed LARP, we were given kind of the rough background of the system, because it's an established system that already exists and runs games outside of this event. Basic world history, costuming, that sort of thing. On the Saturday we did 2 games, one before lunch and one after. And these were smaller games in a more modern setting. So we were basically told to wear black trousers and a black t-shirt and everything else that we would be provided. The first game that we played was based on the Paranoia world. For those who are not familiar with the setting, Paranoia is a kind of dystopian future where a super intelligent computer has basically taken charge of all humanity, and it is capable of killing you at any time for transgressions against it. It refers to itself as friend computer, and everyone refers to it as friend computer. And generally in Paranoia you'll start with a number of clones which basically act as your life. So there are different versions of the setting. There's a card game, there's the RPG, obviously we played a LARP version of it. Our point of view was a LARP. You played through, if a clone died we had a pre-approved location that was acting as our respawn point, and you went back to there. In this particular case, friend computer had given all of us red jumpsuited people, and in this world it's colour coded. Red is the lowest of the low, and it goes through a rainbow of colours. So I think violet or possibly ultraviolet is the best colour with the most power in terms of humans, and if you are a lower colour on the spectrum you are not supposed to acknowledge the existence or touch anything that is of a higher colour, because it outranks you basically. So we all were given red jumpsuits to put on, and we were given a task by friend computer. There was I think 12 of us players, and we were told that there were 7 cures for a drug that Friend Computer had given us, and he wanted us to go through this facility, take it back out again, and then he would decide who got the cure. So obviously we automatically had a bit of a friction between us, because not everyone was going to get to have the cure. And the first thing that the GMs did was split us into 2 teams. We both were trying to complete the mission at the same time against each other, but we were also working together because we've been assigned the same task by Friend Computer. Our team named ourselves Team Red because, you know, we were very original and we weren't given any items to start with, we weren't given any special powers. The other team were given a bunch of items. On each team, we all had different roles, which I believe are established things from the Paranoia universe. So it's things like security, team leader, hygiene, health, happiness. And depending which role you had, you would fare better in certain situations. Now, obviously being a LARP in a university setting, we were running around regular buildings. Obviously the event had hired out basically the whole of the building, so there wasn't a lot of normal stuff going on, but there were people that were just there to play board games. They were off in side rooms and we were basically using the hallway, stairs, things like that as a setting for a LARP. Now, as you can imagine, because we're using stairs and walkways, this was a non-contact, non-fighting environment. So we all started outside, we went through the main gates. First thing that happened was there was a laser turret, and our team leader told us to back away. So we all died, because that was Friend Computer's laser turret, and shouldn't we have trusted Friend Computer? And you can kind of see where it went from there. So, as part of the Student Nationals, they have a charity re-roll, and in LARP, or at least in Paranoia, we got different things you normally get. You basically could spend £1 to buy a dice, and you can use that to re-roll things in the regular games. For Paranoia, it basically works out as 2 lives, so 2 extra clones. For the fate-based system later on, it worked out as fate points. And for the 3rd LARP of the weekend, I believe it was healing potions we could buy, and a few other bits and pieces like that. So within about 5 minutes, everyone went, we're going to buy some more clones now. Because of the way that the room was set up, once we got past the turret, you know, it was the regular hallway, there was a walkway above us. So one of the cool things that they had was 2 of the crew lying down with laser pointers, shining lasers on the floor. If you got hit by a laser, you died. But obviously until you'd got past the laser pointers, people didn't realise that's what was killing them. So there was a bad guy at the end of the room, I think he was a werewolf or something. I can't remember how they got rid of him because it was whilst I was busy respawning. But as security officer, I was commanded by my team leader to go deal with this dangerous threat. So I just stopped up and presumably got laser pointed for not paying attention. So that was me already down 2 clones out of 3. So I definitely went for the re-rolls. We got through. There was talking challenges. There were people in the blue uniforms that we had to convince to let through. We got upstairs. We managed to get the cure. I actually secured it first because it was literally just like a tub with beads in, and it said authorised use only, or Friend Computer had authorised it. My team leader was authorised. I took it, and then we had to take it back downstairs and go back to the outside. Which, after a series of various paranoia-based events, we did. It was quite fun. One of the other really cool things that they did was they had a bunch of orange yarn. As I mentioned, upstairs in this pit building was walkways. So they kind of tied this yarn as like almost like laser beams, and they'd actually physically, you know, used yarn to represent this across a section of it, and we had to get someone to get across. Eventually, someone managed to get across, got to the side to turn off those beams. You aren't the right sort of officer for that. So that was quite fun watching people do that. I was not going anywhere near that challenge. Just not my thing. I was letting other people deal with that problem, because obviously if you got hit by the laser beam, you die. You had to go respawn. One of the final things that we had to do on the way out was talk our way out past some blue guards. Turns out all that you actually need to do was say please, but you know, I wasn't the team leader, so I let the team leader talk. We ended up with about 5 people executed for treason because they realised that if they died that they would respawn behind the guards, and the rest of us mostly let through on the grounds that we were just that irritating and that it was the easiest way to get rid of us. So we all got to the end. There was literally one person that didn't die at the end because we got outside, and then Frank said, "Thank you for your service. I will give this security the appropriate clones." And one person happened to be respawning separate from the rest of the group, so she actually managed to survive. But everybody else, we all died. Don't know how to do our clones. Anyone that said they were a traitor didn't get any more clones, so they're perma-dead, I assume. And that was quite a fun little ice-breaking game that we all did as our first event.
I'm ending it here as this is already well over 10 minutes, and next time we'll talk about the second game in the Nationals, which was a fate-based game. Bye!